All right, I see the message. All right, guys, are you not hearing me?
Yes, we can see you now.
Okay. Did we just completely lose the introduction or what?
Yeah, you'll have to start it over. You cut out for a few seconds.
Oh, wonderful, wonderful. Okay, so this is the traffic committee meeting for Monday, May 18th, 2020, for the city of Mission Viejo. This is an opportunity for residents to discuss various traffic and transportation related items for the city of Mission Viejo. We have one commissioner here from our Planning and Transportation Commission. Hopefully, the other will be joining us shortly. Let's go ahead and do our regular introductions. I'm Brett Kennedy. I'm the transportation analyst for the city of Mission Viejo.
I'm Philip Natoyama. I'm the traffic engineer for the city of Mission Viejo.
Cameron Nauerhayes, appointed commissioner for City of Mission Viejo.
Rich Schlesinger, city engineer.
Deputy Wayne Dixon, Mission Viejo Police Services.
All right, that takes care of our introductions. The first item on our agenda today is the approval of the committee minutes from February. So do we have a motion to approve those?
Yeah, I'll make the motion to approve them.
Since you're my only commissioner, you're the only one who can do it. All right, so we will call that approved. All right. Since we don't have a live audience here participating in this meeting with us, all the comments have been submitted ahead of time. So what I think we're going to do is just go straight down the agenda, item after item. So our first topic for discussion today is going to be speed humps on Avenida Bonachon, and Philip will be making that presentation for us.
Okay, hello commissioners. This is Philip Natoyama. I'm going to do the presentation for the Avenida Bonachon speed humps. And then after the presentation, I'll give an opportunity for the traffic committee to ask questions about the presentation. And then after the presentation, I will read the comments that I have received. I have 4 comments for this item. And then I'll go back to the traffic committee to make a decision on the request. Before I proceed forward, I want to indicate that we received an email just now that said there's a resident that indicates that they can't hear us. So I want to make sure that our IT staff, Mark Josen, has the audio on for this streaming. Mark, can you confirm that the audio is on?
Yes, all video and audio is working.
Okay. I will start the presentation. Can everyone see the attachment, location map attachment 1? Okay, Okay, I got a thumbs up from Commissioner Nauerhays. So
Yeah, we can see, Philip. We can see.
okay. So this is our first exhibit. It's just a location map. It's trying to identify Avenida Bonachon. So if you're at the corner of Alicia and Geronimo, you go down Geronimo into Camino Adelante, make a right on Calle Estillo, and then you're on Avenida Bonachon, and that goes all the way down to Calle Ganador. This is a residential street, 25 mile per hour prima facie speed limit. And this is our second exhibit. It's just a vicinity map identifying the location for Avenida Bonachon. This is our attachment 2 exhibit. This is just a street view photo. This is looking east on Avenida Bonachon at its intersection with Calle Estillo. This is an uncontrolled intersection. There's houses on both sides, parking available on both sides. This intersection is uncontrolled. I just wanted to show a ground view of the street. The bottom photo is looking east on Avenida Bonachon, about 100 feet further in. Now we're on the second page of attachment 2, looking west on Avenida Bonachon. This is on the opposite end, Calle Ganador. It's an uncontrolled intersection. Still one lane in each direction, parking available on both sides. And then the bottom photo is 100 feet west of the intersection with Calle Ganador. Same, it's just a street view, just giving a opportunity to see what it looks like on the ground. This is our average daily traffic and speed radar survey. So we did a traffic count for an entire day. We put a machine tube out on the road where the yellow marker is right here. There were 166 cars for the entire day. That's a 24-hour period. Then we also conducted a speed survey. That's where the red arrow is. The speed survey conducted, I believe it's between 50 to 100 cars, and plotted it on the graph. And then the 85th percentile is 27 miles per hour. That means 85% of the cars are going 25 miles per hour or 27 miles per hour or less. The criteria for speed humps, as shown on the upper left, the minimum speed hump criteria for average daily traffic is 2,000 cars per day, and the minimum 85th percentile is 32 miles per hour. I do have some notes on the bottom right. The average daily traffic was conducted on February 27th, 2020. So those were under normal conditions prior to the COVID-19 stay-at-home order. The speed survey was conducted on February 26th, which was also prior to the COVID-19 stay-at-home pandemic order. For the next page, this is our vertical grade analysis. That's a misnomer on the top. It shouldn't say Quintana Drive. That's supposed to be Avenida Bonachon. We did, again, there's an error on that exhibit. It says Ladera to Salazar. That's supposed to be Calle Ganador to Calle Estillo. But the calculation is correct. There's the vertical grade divided by the distance is about 1.58%. It's a small vertical grade. In order to construct speed humps, the vertical grade has to be less than 5%. So we are less than 5%. On this exhibit, the yellow contours are 10-foot contours, and then the red lines represent 2-foot contours. So the more red and yellow lines you see, the higher the vertical grade. This particular street's relatively flat. So the next page, this is our speed hump criteria. There's 10 requirements that need to be met in order for staff to recommend a speed hump on the street. The very first requirement before the signature petition. We need a majority of 2/3 or 67%. So we received a signed petition that included 33 of 46 homes on the street, which is equivalent to 72%. So that's why we started the analysis for speed humps. I want to make a note that about a couple of weeks later, we received a second petition to oppose the construction of speed humps. The second petition had 24 signatures out of 46. So it wasn't the 2/3 majority, but it was 24 signatures. So between the two petitions, I want to say that some houses signed both petitions because there's more signatures than houses. I want to make that clear. The first requirement is that the street is about 1,520 feet or a quarter mile long. It's almost exactly a quarter mile long, so we meet that requirement. There's 13 or more buildings on one side or 16 houses on both sides. So there's 46 buildings for the street, so we meet that criteria. Condition number 2, the legal speed limit is 25 miles per hour. We meet that criteria. Condition number 3, the radar speed survey has to be over 32 miles per hour. The speed survey was 27 miles per hour, so we did not meet that criteria. The paved width is 40 feet or less, so it does meet that criteria. Number 5, street shall be no more than one lane in each direction. We meet that criteria. Criteria number 6, the average daily traffic is more than 2,000 vehicles per day. There were 166 vehicles for the day that we recorded, so it does not meet that criteria. Warrant number 7, street has a grade of 5% or less. So it was 1.58, so we met that criteria. Warrant 8, must not be a short block. We meet that criteria. Warrant 9, the roadways do not provide adequate horizontal or vertical alignments. There are some horizontal curves, but it's not too bad. It's a slight curve, so we meet that criteria. Criteria number 10 is it just requires us to notify OCFA about the proposed speed humps, and that's all we need to do to meet the criteria. However, OCFA's goal is to be anywhere in the city within 5 minutes, and they conducted several test runs to Avenida Bonachon at 4 or 5 fire stations, and their best time was 6 minutes towards Avenida Bonachon. So that exceeds their goal of 5 minutes. Every time we add a speed hump, it increases the response time by an average of 10 seconds. So it's 6 minutes to get to Avenida Bonachon today, and if we add more speed humps, it will increase the emergency response. So that's the 10 criteria. 8 of them were met, 2 of them were not. There's other conditions to consider. There's a school and a park nearby. There's Montevideo Elementary School, El Dorado Park. Those are traffic generating land uses. For accident history, we looked at the past 3 years, 2017 to 2019. There were 0 reported collisions. The 2020 collision data is still not available. It takes somewhere between 3 to 6 months for us to get all the data. So that's why it's only up to 2019. Special circumstances, again, OCFA response times increases every speed hump when we construct a speed hump by 10 seconds. So this is our next attachment. This is our speed hump policies and guidelines and procedures. I'm not going to read through the whole thing, but it explains our whole process. And this is attachment 7. This is from the Institute of Transportation Engineers speed hump spacing criteria. Typically, speed humps have 150 feet in each direction for spacing, and the speed humps are spaced between 150 to 300 feet between speed humps. There's some signage requirements prior to each speed hump, so that's why there's a spacing requirement. And this exhibit is our city standard plan number 345. It shows the height of the speed hump to be 3 inches tall, and then it shows the length, which is about 12 feet wide. And then there's additional signage. It says bump ahead 15 miles an hour as an advanced warning in each direction of a speed hump. All right, so this exhibit is a conceptual exhibit applying the spacing guidelines. If we proceed forward, there's a potential to add up to 5 speed humps on the street. That's what the rectangular yellow marks represent. Before each speed hump, there's a sign that says speed hump ahead. So the circles represent the signage. It should be noted that we can't construct speed humps in front of driveways, and then we can't construct speed humps above manhole covers. So these are conceptual locations for speed humps if we proceed forward. The idea of the speed hump is to manage speeds. So if we don't proceed with speed humps, we have other speed management options, such as centerline striping, 25-mile-per-hour speed limit signs in each direction. We also have speed radar trailers. We can also request for spot police enforcement. And then this last exhibit is just the email that I received from OCFA indicating that they conducted travel time emergency response runs from 4 different stations to Avenida Bonachon, and their best time was 6 minutes. So that concludes my presentation. Again, I have 4 comments to read from residents. But before I read those comments, I want to ask the traffic committee if they have any questions in regards to the presentation.
I have one question for you, Philip. Do we have any historical pre-COVID-19 data about speed surveys on that street prior to the survey you conducted?
No, I don't believe we do. The speed survey that we conducted is the only one that I'm aware of.
But
Okay.
it's worth noting that the data Philip presented was collected before the stay-at-home order started, so it does show that pre-existing conditions out there.
Deputy Dixon, did you have any questions, or Rich?
No, I'm good. Everything on there makes sense.
Do you know the date the school shut down?
The date that the school shut down? I would say sometime in mid-March. I don't have an exact date.
And then Philip, I'm just missing it. When was this survey conducted? I just can't seem to find it.
If you look at attachment 3, on the bottom right of attachment 3, in the notes section.
Gotcha. Okay, I got it.
Yeah, the traffic count was on February 27th, and the survey was on February 26th.
And the school shut down on March 13th.
Okay.
Okay.
Thanks, Deputy Dixon. All right. If there's no other questions from the traffic committee, I'm going to read the comments that I received today. So I have 4 comments. I'm going to show the comments on the screen as well. Do you guys see the screen?
I don't see any text.
It's just all gray.
You guys don't see the text?
No, just gray.
Okay.
Phil, try sharing your whole screen. There it is.
Okay. How about now? Can you see the whole thing?
Got it now.
Okay. So this first comment was from Doug Black. He says, "Thank you for considering this issue. All of us are rightly concerned for the safety of children. And children are grown and raising families of their own. But when they were young, none of the streets which we lived had speed bumps. Their mother and I made it our business to keep our children out of the street. What is needed is for parents to take responsibility for teaching their children with safety guidelines about playing outside. Playing in the street carries with it risks that speed bumps cannot eliminate. As a child, I and my friends did play in the street, but we also lived where parks were far away and there were limited options. Mission Viejo provides many choices for children to play safe, protected areas, parks, and school grounds. All speed bumps will do is inconvenience the safe drivers who travel Avenue Marathon. Please vote no on this well-intentioned but overreaching proposal." That was the first comment. The second comment is from Miss Lucy Patton. Avenida Bonachon is not a busy street. I don't see any need for a speed bump. I don't see any need to spend money at this time, when we were having problems keeping up with the cost of living and our paycheck and or jobs are going away. If we need to use the street for kids to play, that is why we are paying to keep up the parks. That was the second comment. The third comment is from Mr. Jim Laughlin. Over the past 2 months, the traffic on Bonachon and the surrounding areas have definitively decreased. However, I believe that it will eventually increase to the levels before the stay-at-home order. In fact, I'm beginning to see the increase now as people are slowly getting out and portions of the stay-at-home order are being lifted. From my backyard, I can see Geronimo and Alicia. Prior to the stay-at-home order, I heard the noise of car wrecks at least once a month through my whole house. The sound is nerve-wracking and deafening. This is because Geronimo and Alicia is 2 blocks away. From Bonachon, there is Adelanto and then Alicia, 2 blocks. You have the statistics on the car crashes at this intersection before the stay-at-home order, which was ground zero for all car accidents in Mission Viejo. This city is just getting so busy. I was told the speed humps will slow down emergency medical and fire vehicles. But if this is true, how come so many other streets have speed humps in the city? And how come the city never removed speed humps on any residential street in the city? If speed humps are a safety issue or a liability, they should be removed. Further, if speed humps are a safety issue or a liability, this petition should never have been allowed or authorized. Please note that I see cars whip quickly around the corners of the street and slow in the middle of the street as it bends and flattens. The ends of the street are sloped and straight line while the middle is flat and slightly curved. Lastly, I've seen cars brush by my house at high speeds while my kids and I are on the sidewalk. It is spine chilling. I think speed humps would help. Thank you for reading and listening and acknowledging my comments. That was the third comment. I have one last one. And this one was from Mr. Amar Danantwari. Today, from 1 p.m. to 1:30 p.m., I sat in my car at the corner of Calle Estillo and Camino Adelanto. This was to observe traffic entering from Geronimo Road and observe the behavior of drivers going over the first speed bump on Camino Adelanto, closest to Geronimo Road. During this 30-minute period, 37 cars entered from Geronimo, 16 proceeded straight from Camino Adelanto, and 21 turned into Calle Estillo. This represents 57% of vehicles that entered the subdivision, diverting off Camino Adelanto to a different street. During the time period, 27 cars went over the speed bump. Of the 27, 24 slowed down as they went over the bump. This represents 89%. This is contrary to the assertion that cars speed up going over speed bumps so as to glide over them. Below is my data that went over the speed bump today for the record, but not expected to be read. We know the cars that belong on Avenida Bonachon because we walk the entire length of the street at least once per day. We know that many of the cars that come down the street are not going to a home on Avenida Bonachon, but are just using it as a thoroughfare. However, given the short notice of this meeting, we were not able to collect data on cars that just drive through from one end to the other. And that's the end of the fourth comment. So that wraps up all the comments that I received for this agenda. Did you guys have any additional questions?
I have no further questions.
Deputy Dixon, did you have any questions?
No, I don't have any questions. Well, actually, I do have one. So Adelanto does have speed humps on it, and Bonachon and the other residential streets don't.
Correct.
Okay.
Rich, Brett, do you guys have any questions?
I just got a text from Joe Blum saying that Dave Leckness is having problems getting on. Hey, Mark, you have my cell number. Can you text me your cell number and I'll have Dave Leckness call you and see if he can work through his problems?
Sure.
All right, I don't have anything further to add to the conversation at this time.
Commissioner Nowake, what are your thoughts on this request for
You know, the two things that stand out to me are warrants that aren't met, and they're significantly not met. And, you know, I had some concerns about when the surveys were done, and it looks like they were done even prior to, you know, the stay-at-home order. So with that in mind, you know, I appreciate the feedback from the residents that sent their messages in, but at this time, I just don't see the need for that type of that street, all those speed bumps and signs, and then jeopardizing response times for the Orange County Fire Authority. So I would reject the project saying no to speed bumps on that street.
Okay. Deputy Dixon, do you have any other comments?
I just wanted to make one comment. It's a residential street, so normally those streets aren't surveyed just by prima facie. Residential is set at 25 miles an hour.
Noted.
Okay, noted. Rich or Brett, you guys have any other comments?
Nothing further from me either.
Okay. Traditionally, our speed hump guidelines would forward this request to the Planning and Transportation Commission meeting. However, the Traffic Committee does have the authority to stop the process here at the Traffic Committee. So I'm going to ask Commissioner Nauerhayes, based on your feedback, it appears that we are not moving forward with this request. Is that correct?
That's correct. Can I just ask one more question, Philip? How often can petitioners ask for this type of project? Do they have to wait a certain amount of time before they can ask again?
What, I don't understand the question. What, ask for what?
Ask to have speed humps in the neighborhood. So if we reject it today, and let's say the petitioners go out and do this survey where the numbers aren't completely off, where everybody's back to work, school's back in session, can they come back in a year, 18 months, 3 years? Is there any kind of limit on that?
I see. I understand. We usually have a 1-year moratorium from the time a decision is made at the traffic committee. So they can reapply again within a year for a speed hump, and they have to go through the same process. They need a signature petition. And then once we receive the petition, we'll do traffic counts and a speed survey again. So that's the time frame to reapply is a 1-year minimum.
Like I'm there, Mark. All right, thanks, Mark.
Looks like we got
Okay.
your likeness online. How you doing?
Hey, I gotta make sure I'm framed properly here.
So, Commissioner Likeness has just joined. Just to give you a brief recap, we just did the presentation for the Avenida Bonachon speed hump. We just read all 4 comments from the residents that we received. And I think Commissioner Nauerhayes was about to make a decision on what to do with this request. So I just wanted to give you a brief summary, Commissioner Likeness, of what's transpired so far.
All right, thank you.
Commissioner Nauerhayes, if you could proceed forward.
Yeah, with that in mind, then, if they get another year to apply, my suggestion right now is to not move forward with adding speed humps on the street. However, for anyone listening via YouTube or any of the people that wrote in, come back at a later time when conditions change. I'm really concerned about the petition too, how we had kind of an unreliable number to work from of people that were for and against it. At that point, maybe you can get a hold of the appropriate number of residents. School will be back in session, we'll be back to work, and perhaps you may have a better survey. But at this point, I see no need to move it forward based on the evidence presented today.
Okay, thank you for your comments. We will not move forward with the Avenida Bonachon speed hump request. This will end agenda item number 2. So we'll move forward to agenda item number 3. So I'll let Brett take over for that item.
All right. Thank you, guys. So everyone needs to be careful with their computer with the mute control because we're getting a lot of feedback on it and it's making it difficult to hear. So if you're not the one speaking, make sure that you have your microphone muted. All right. So I need to start my presentation here. Over one. Okay. So I have the request for a yield sign on Ventosa at Via Aurora. And this is a intersection in one of our local neighborhoods on Via Aurora, just north of Alicia Parkway. It's very near the old Barcelona Hills Elementary School, now Oxford Preparatory Academy, I think is the current name. And it's up here at the far north end of the street where it branches off and goes, and traffic can go into the rest of the neighborhood. So this is what the request would look like for the installation of a yield sign. Where you see on Ventosa, we would install the yield sign. There are pavement markings for the yield limit line, and then a small section of center line that gets installed at the same time. The street is 40 feet wide, so we have the ability to go in and put this in without needing any other additional parking restrictions or anything of the sort to provide adequate width for traffic there. Also, the speed limit on Ventosa, existing speed limit, is 25 miles an hour, as is on the north end of Via Aurora. Via Aurora, south of this intersection, though, is 35 miles an hour because it's not. It functions as a collector street instead of a typical residential street because all the homes front onto these cul-de-sacs that are off to the side. The resident who made the initial request did this out of a concern for safety. She says that vehicles rarely stop when making their turn exiting Ventosa onto Via Aurora. And I have a email comment from her that we will read later. So there you can see there's the legend that shows some of the other existing traffic control in the area. So we have an existing no outlet sign on the north side of the intersection because Via Aurora does end in a cul-de-sac north of Ventosa. And then we also have a object marker that marks the other side of the street when exiting Ventosa, so I guess at night motorists wouldn't be confused and drive through the intersection and up into a slope and into someone's yard. And we'll have a photo of what that looks like in one of the later exhibits. We did a 3-year collision history search on this intersection, and we found that there were no reported traffic collisions in 2017, 18, and 19. We also have average daily traffic on Via Aurora. This data was collected in 2017 when we did our last speed limit update, and Via Aurora carries about 2,100 vehicles a day. So moving on, this is an exhibit that shows what the yield sign limit line looks like, where instead of it being a solid line like you would see at a stop sign, it's a series of triangles that makes up the limit line. And then the photo of what a yield sign looks like was on the previous exhibit. Finally, we have our photo exhibit. So this is the top photo is looking west on Ventosa at Via Aurora. And down here in the middle, you can see the object marker that I was discussing earlier. The bottom photo is just looking back the other direction up Ventosa from Via Aurora. And then on the last page here, you can see photos of both directions of the approach to the intersection. The first one is looking south on Aurora at Ventosa, so that would be going towards Alicia Parkway. And the last photo here is looking north on Via Aurora at Ventosa. So that concludes the staff report portion. Before I move on to our resident comments, do we have any questions from the commissioners?
No question for me.
All right. How about Dave? Any questions from Dave?
Sorry, I said no, but I was on mute.
All right. All right. Okay. So I can move on to our resident comments here. I have two. The first one comes from Sophia Dodd, who is our original requester of the yield sign. And she says, the reason I am requesting this yield sign is that people turning left on Ventosa usually do rolling stops and rarely stop. If someone is driving up or down on Via Aurora, in particular at night and or around 5 p.m., the person turning left onto Via Aurora does not give the right-of-way to the car driving up or down on Via Aurora. I have encountered this numerous times. So that is the comment from our original requester. And I have one more from a gentleman, Christian DeFries, and he says the issue has been presented several times over the last 30 years. He says I live on the cul-de-sac, and probably twice a month he's required to hit the brakes to avoid an impact with a vehicle turning from Ventosa. Typically, they don't even look right for an oncoming vehicle. I don't think there has ever been an accident because the Aurora homeowners are alert and give way. So that is our two resident comments. Shoot. All right. Do we have any discussion from the commissioners?
I could go first, I guess. Based on what I've seen and looking at the maps and everything you've explained, we know that roadways that basically have the through right away, they don't have to stop. But the ones that are driving where the street ends, they're supposed to stop. Does it happen? It sounds like sometimes. It sounds like there hasn't been any crashes. If people follow the vehicle code, and that's in the driver handbook, that those cars are supposed to yield. I would leave it at that. I don't know that a yield sign is going to influence any different behavior. So at this point, that I'm not really in favor of putting a sign or a stripe in the street at this point.
I concur.
Okay. So is there any other discussion, or are we going to deny the request?
Deny.
I just wanted to make sure that there are no yield signs on Luciana or Lerma also. Those are the other two streets that break off on the right as you're going up via Aurora towards the dead end at the cul-de-sac.
I don't believe there are any yield signs out there. This would be the first one in this neighborhood.
Okay, I was just looking at the map on here because I just wanted to make sure, and it looks like the curvature of the road as you're getting coming up from Alicia towards Lerma has got more line of a sight issue and everything than up at Ventosa. It looks like if you're exiting out of Ventosa, you've got a good line of sight in either the right or the left. So, yes, you do have to stop, and people, usually when they're coming out of there, probably just looking to the right and then making that turn so we can go out there and do some spot enforcement on it.
Okay, yeah, we can definitely have the spot enforcement at this location. So we'll deny the request, but also Wayne will follow up with enforcement out there. Okay, that concludes item number 3, and we can move on to item number 4, which is our centerline removal on Lope de Vega, and Philip will be presenting that.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen to show the exhibits. Okay, does everybody see the vicinity map exhibit? Okay, I got a thumbs up. So this is our first Attachment 1 is just identifying the location of Lope de Vega, which is agenda item number 4 on the traffic committee. So it's also near Alicia, between Geronimo and Trabuco. You go down Cornell from Alicia Parkway, couple of streets down, you're gonna hit Lope de Vega, and you can see the red lines, red arrows. This is where it starts, and then the other red arrow is where it ends. It has a horizontal curve. There's 25 mile per hour speed limit. We don't have any traffic volumes for this street, and when we did our collision report analysis, there were 0 reported collisions from 2017 to 2019. And then this is an aerial map of Lope de Vega. The request is to remove the existing centerline stripe. So this aerial just shows that there's houses on both sides of the street, and there's a horizontal curve. And there's 2 or 3 intersecting streets in between, and there's a cul-de-sac on the other end. And then this is our street view photo. The top photo is looking east on Lope de Vega at its intersection with Cornell. This is where the center line striping starts. You can see in the middle of the picture, there's a stop controlled intersection. And then it's a solid yellow line that turns into a dashed yellow line further up the street. You can see there's a horizontal curve and a vertical curve as well. This second photo is looking further east on Lope de Vega, about 100 feet east from its intersection of Coronel. You can see the dashed yellow striping. This is the striping that's being requested to be removed. And this photo is from the opposite end of Lope de Vega. This is at the cul-de-sac. This portion of the street does not have centerline striping. So I just want to make that very clear. And then this bottom photo is the intersection of Lope de Vega with Carlotta. So this is where the centerline stripe ends, all the way up until Carlotta Drive. You can see it in the middle of the photo. And then this exhibit shows the existing centerline striping on Lope de Vega from Coronel to Carlotta Drive. It's dashed for the first portion, and then at the very, on both ends actually, there's a solid yellow line. And the request by the resident is to remove the entire centerline striping from Coronel to Carlotta Drive. And this is just the engineering manual detail. If you look at detail number 1, right here on the top of the page, right above detail 1, it says in black highlight for speeds 40 miles per hour or less. It is a centerline stripe is the appropriate measure for speeds less than 40 miles per hour. And then this was the original email that we received from Miss Rachel Runyon. The reasons why she requested for the centerline striping removal, there's 4 reasons. Number 1, centerline striping and reflectors on Lope de Vega gives the impression it is a road on which it is appropriate to drive at a higher speed. Number 2, there are no other streets in the neighborhood that have the same centerline striping and reflectors. Most do not have anything, and a few have speed humps. Number 3, Lope de Vega is not a street directly connected to the main road like Carlotta is directly connected to Trabuco. Guillermo is directly connected to Geronimo. Neither have centerline or reflectors. Number 4, if it is appropriate, you could add that the line was put in over a decade ago and that you were not aware of that it was there. So that's the 4 reasons why she's asking to remove it. I have 2 other resident comments But before I read those comments, I want to ask the traffic committee if they have any questions in regards to the presentation.
I just have one question.
Okay.
Do we know why or when those stripes were put in? Was this something that came before the commission 10 years ago where they were requesting it? Do we have any history?
That's a good question. That's the same question that the resident requested from me. I don't have an answer to that one. My response was that I've been working here at the city for almost 12 years, and I've never constructed anything on this street, Lope de Vega. So that center line striping has been there for a minimum 12 years because I was not the one that constructed it. My guess is that there's a horizontal curve, there's a vertical curve on the street. So the center line striping may keep the cars on their side of the road when they're traversing through those horizontal vertical curves. That would be one guess. My other guess is that maybe at one point there was cut through traffic along this portion of the neighborhood where there were more cars. And so they decided to add a center line to separate the two flows of traffic when it was heavier. That would be my guess.
Okay, because it seems unusual, and typically we put those lines in when there's a traffic problem or speeding. So that historical data would probably lend some information to us, but I have no further questions.
Philip, Dave here, you probably are going to get to this, but do we know how many homes are on that street and how many people have requested it, that whole thing? You're probably going to get into that.
I didn't count how many homes there were on this street. It's a pretty long stretch. I do know that we sent out 80 postcard notifications for this traffic committee agenda. So that includes houses on both sides of Lope de Vega, plus the houses at the end of Lope de Vega that's within a couple hundred feet. So I would estimate around 80 homes on the street. And I got one request to remove it, so that's at least one resident. And then I have two comments that I received that I will be reading to you guys after I answer all your questions. The two comments, I'll get into it when it's my turn. So does that answer your question, Commissioner?
Yeah. No, thank you. Good.
Okay. All right. Did you have a question?
Hey, if I could interject, so we're scheduled to resurface that street, not this summer, but next summer. And that street is sealed, so that to remove the striping, when you try and sand striping off a sewer seal, it sometimes can create quite a mess because the slurry can come up with it. So if the decision was made to remove the striping, I would request that we wait till next summer, resurface the street, not put the striping back. If that's the action of the traffic committee.
Okay. Thanks for your comments, Rich. That was our city engineer. Deputy Dixon, did you have any comments at all?
Yeah, I was just looking at Avenida de Sego, and it's like twice as long as Lope de Vega is. And I've been here for almost 20 years, and I don't ever remember it not having stripes, because we go on it quite a bit. If they want them to remove it, I don't see an issue with it. Probably just do it next summer when they resurface it.
Okay, thank you. I think that's all the comments for the staff presentation. I have two comments that I received prior to the meeting. So I will, I'm going to share those comments again. Okay, so here's the two comments that I received. The first comment is from Mr. Patrick Runyon, to whom it may concern in regards to the traffic committee meeting item number 4. I agree with the striping being removed. I feel that the striping on Lope de Vega is not serving its intended purpose. The striping down the middle gives drivers the impression that the street has greater speed than the rest of the neighborhood. This is due to the fact that the striping does not benefit the pattern of the rest of the neighborhood. There are no other streets that have striping. This includes the streets that connect neighborhood to major thoroughfares such as Coronel, Carlotta, and Vallermo. That's the first comment. The second comment is from Miss Rachel Runyon. She is also the original requester for this item. She indicates, I am in favor of the removal of the centerline striping of Lope de Vega. This line seems very out of place in the middle of our residential neighborhood. Lope de Vega is lined on both sides with over 40 homes. There are no centerline stripes or reflectors on any other streets connected to Lope de Vega. The centerline striping seems to give drivers the impression that they are on a 2-lane road with a higher speed limit rather than the residential street inside the neighborhood. Furthermore, on Lope de Vega, it can be observed that drivers are not exercising the same cautions as they should on a residential street, watching for kids, bikes, runners, or neighborhoods chatting in front of their homes. It seems the lines and reflectors in the middle of the street give cars the impression to drive without concern for the people who live there. As a resident who loves her community and neighbors, I appreciate your consideration to remove the center stripe. So that's the two comments that I received before today's meeting, and that concludes the resident comments.
All right, I'd like to see us just deny this and move on for several different reasons. And maybe if you want to send a letter that we're going to be restriping in a year anyways, but I say deny.
Okay. Commissioner Nauerhase?
I would agree with Commissioner Lepkus on that. And I have nothing further to add.
Okay. Does anybody else have any other comments?
Just real quick, so it would deny the request for removing them right now, and then when it's resurfaced, they just wouldn't be repainted. Is that what?
Yeah, I just want to clarify. You want us to put the stripe back when we resurface the road next summer?
This is Dave Lectus. I don't have an opinion on that. Either way.
Well,
No, my only
ideally,
replacing the stripe would be, we don't even know why it's there. So I would take a contemporary, engineering model of what to do when you're resurfacing the roadway and what the modern traffic lights are and all the things that support the work that you guys do. And if you feel replacing the line, should be done, replace it. If not, leave it off. But I think that's part of why we're here today. I think that's going to be a game time decision when you guys go to redo the road or revisit the traffic.
well, if Philip doesn't have any background on why the stripe's out there, it kind of comes to the city to put back the stripe, and we have to maintain it. So we could just as easily not put it back when we resurface the road, and then if it pops up as an issue people want it back, we can certainly look at it then and put it back at a later date.
Yeah, I don't have any justification to keep it. There's no history that I have that indicates the reason why we installed it. So based on that information, I think we could proceed forward with removing it when we slurry seal or resurface the street next summer. Can you guys hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
That sounds good.
Okay, so I guess our direction is to keep the street as is today, but when we resurface the street next summer, we'll remove the center line stripe then.
Yes.
Okay,
Philip, please send an email to myself and Andy, and we'll put it in the file, so we'll pick it up when we do the project.
sure thing, will do. Okay, that's the end of agenda item number 4. So agenda item number 5 is up to Brett.
All right, I'm just finishing up my notes here real quick. Someone is muted because I'm getting really bad feedback in my headset.
Yeah, it's me. I'm trying to open up and mute, but I don't have the control panels available.
Hey, Phil, check for me the top window.
Okay. All right, let me know when you guys are ready for me to proceed.
I'm good.
Okay. All right, so the intersection watch list is a planning tool that we develop every 2 years. It's based on resident requests, typically for traffic signals at at intersections that don't typically have or that do not have an existing traffic signal. And what we do is we go through the Caltrans warrants for a traffic signal and create a point system to determine whether or not some form of traffic control is justified at these different locations. Now, just because a warrant is met doesn't necessarily mean that one will be constructed. We usually look for some place where there is a problem to be solved. Typically, that would be traffic collisions that would be correctable by the installation of a traffic signal or other traffic control device. Like, for example, broadside collisions would be considered correctable. And those are the specific types of collisions we look at when assigning points for that particular warrant to these different unsignalized intersections. So the chart that shows the summary is 2 pages long. I have page 1 up here right now. It shows that our some of our top point locations are Alicia and Poe and Felipe and Aprico. But you can see some meet the warrants, which are on the far right columns, and some of them do not. So again, that's why it's not always a guarantee that a traffic signal will be installed at any of these locations. The main purpose behind this is if we have any new developments going on in the city. For example, how there's the new restaurants going in at near the Target shopping center at Alicia and Charlinda, or the redevelopment of the Mission Foothill Marketplace to have residential housing there. And so if any of these unsignalized intersections are nearby, we could use that as a tool to identify if there were any existing issues at that intersection and what possible solutions we could put out there, up to and including a traffic signal. So maybe looking at turn restrictions, left turn refuge lanes in the center median. Other solutions like that could come up as part of the process. So, like I said, this is the summary of all the data we collected here, including the points and traffic volumes. And we also have these summary sheets that encapsulate everything that's going on at that intersection, where we can capture additional data, like if there are other signalized intersections nearby, then sometimes that would lead us to think that maybe putting signals close to each other wouldn't be the best for traffic flows. So we use these sheets to assist in that analysis. For the traffic committee today, this is just a receive and file item. So this is what we're going to be using going forward when evaluating new projects that come into the city, what type of traffic control or mitigations that they would need to do as part of their traffic control plan. And that summarizes my report. If you guys have any questions, I would be happy to answer them.
None for me. This is Dave.
Thank you for the information. None from me. However, not shocking that Alicia pops up on here quite a bit. So I look forward to seeing some work done on that in the future, especially with more people exercising around the lake and being out on foot. Thank you.
Yeah, specific to the lake area, one of the newest additions to the list, it's only been on for the last 4 years or so, I think, is the lake driveway at the youth athletic park. But historically, that has not ranked very high in our point list. It's usually towards the bottom. But it is one of the intersections that we watch.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, that concludes our our normal discussion items. Of course, we always have the updates item at the end of each agenda. So do you guys have any specific questions to projects going on in the city right now that you would like answers from us on?
Yeah, hi, Brett. I know you say you travel the same also as me, and we have that new sign out there that says the electronic, speed, what's your speed?
Yeah,
And I
speed
remember the
feedback
last
sign.
time we spoke, I thought it kind of wasn't working properly, and you said you kind of thought the same thing. Have you noticed any improvement in it, or have you looked into anything on that?
I've been by it a couple times, and I've noticed it looks better now, but I don't know if anything else has been done to make any other further corrections there. I think Philip might be able to speak more directly to that item.
Yes, we have not made any modifications out there, and we haven't received any feedback from the community, whether it's positive or negative. The one resident that requested for it, I guess he's happy. We have not heard from him yet, but his sign is up. But other than that, there hasn't been anything new that has been done to the sign.
Here's what I would like to see, just to make sure that it's dialed in, because I come past that, a couple times a day, and what happens is when it registers you, it doesn't flash what the speed you're going until you are like right on it. I mean, almost, horizontal, parallel, right to it, and then it shows your speed, and then you can see, if you look at the actual device, you can see that it says slow down. But it needs to be lit up. You know what I mean? You can see that it offers that option to say, "Hey, slow down." And I've never seen that activated, and I've kind of come through there kind of a high rate just to see if I could see that it would tell me to slow down. Does that make sense? It has that option. You can see that is one of the words that the system allows, but I have never seen it. Maybe I'm just not going fast enough to trigger that.
Yes, we do have a setting that says to slow down once you reach a certain traffic limit threshold. I'll have to review the settings for it, but we don't want it to just keep showing a number, because there's going to be some drivers that are going to drive 90 miles an hour just to see the number 90 flash on the screen.
Oh, yeah.
So after a certain threshold, I think it's 10 miles over the existing speed limit is how he placed it. I don't recall. I have to check. But after 10 miles, it says slow down rather than record your
Right.
showing on there. So that feature is available, and it is activated after a certain speed limit threshold.
Got it. Okay. All right. Thank you.
All right. Any other updates?
I just had a question.
Okay.
I saw that the project money was released for the La Paz widening and everything, and when that project's going to probably start kicking off, because the I-5 widening project is running through, I think, 2023. And if there's going to be a conflict with what's going on there, and then what might be starting with the widening of La Paz between Crescenta and the 5.
Rich, do you have an update for us? La Paz Road widening?
Yeah, Mark just got authorization to do the redesign of that project, and I would hope that he goes to construction within a year. And he's in close contact with the Caltrans people in the Caltrans project, so they will be coordinated. Rest assured.
Okay. If there are no other questions or comments for the committee, we can adjourn the meeting at 4:18. And our next meeting will be our June meeting, which I believe is on Monday, June 15th at 3 p.m. And we will keep you posted. If the stay-at-home order is still in effect, then we'll have to do it online again. Otherwise, we will hopefully be back in our home at the Saddleback Room at City Hall.
Okay, everybody. Bye. This is fun.
All right.
I just want to say thank you again to everybody for holding the first virtual traffic committee meeting ever. There's a lot of coordination involved, and thank you guys for participating and doing this virtually.
Yeah, I'm excited that Brett did make his bed there, and that's really critical. We had bets that he wasn't even going to have a made bed, but he did, and that's really special.
With the whole work from home thing starting and having these types of meetings, not only with you guys, but our traffic signal maintenance company we have monthly meetings with, I will tell you, my bed has not been made with such consistency in years.
That's good.
Yeah, so it's been a learning experience in more ways than one.
That's great.
All right.
Well, thank you guys. Thank you, city staff, for putting this together. I know it's a lot of work behind the scenes, and we appreciate it. So I'm glad you guys are healthy.
Yeah, we're trying to keep it going the best we can.
All right.
All right.
Bye, everybody.
Thank you,
Take care.
guys.
See you guys.
All right, everybody, have a good afternoon. Drive safe.
All right, bye-bye.
All right.
Bye.